How's it going, everyone? It is Andre Williams, and over here we talk stocks. We focus on one thing. Always protect your profits. And today we're going to be talking about Polestar, LCID, MULLEN, and as well as for SoFi. We had Polestar that announced that they were able to increase their sales by 125% in 2022. So I know that was exciting news for investors, and we've been seeing momentum in the stock. Of course, we're going to be going over the short interest and the recent institutional information for all of them. And just to remind you, we do have timestamps down below inside the description. I also get that down inside of the comments for you guys. So let's get into these videos so you're prepared for Friday. So we're going to take a look at the chart for Polestar. Let's see how it performed on the day. So it ended up closing at $10.20, being up 0.79%. On the low, it tested $9.95, and then on the high, testing $10.25. When we take a look at the volume stats on the day, you can see we traded at 1.773 million shares, and the average volume over 10 trading days is at 3.152 million shares. So you can see we did have below average volume, but we saw some strength in the stock. Now, when we take a look at a chart, which is the daily chart, one of the things I want to bring to your attention, Polestar has been on quite a strong uptrend. We are seeing a continuation of it breaking through the levels that we have stated in prior videos, as you can see from all of the price levels that have been highlighted. Since we did close at $10.20, where we want to get to is right here at $10.62. We did get around this area, getting as high as into the $10.70 range on July the 13th. So I want to see us go back there. If we could break above this level, that's where I want to see if Polestar can make that move, not only getting into the $11 range, but the next area to watch will be right here around $11.30. If it decides to have a pullback going into tomorrow, then of course where we tested the low at $9.95, we want $10 to hold. If it can hold $10, then that will give us another higher low, and that's exactly what you want to see, especially going into next week. So overall, if we get that break above 10.25 going into Friday, let's see how well it does when it tests around 10.60. So we're going to take a look at the recent institutional ownership and short interest information for Polestar. So scrolling down further on the page, green rows indicate new positions while red rows indicate closed positions. So we can see from the recent filings for the 14th, we have XR Securities LLC that went in with calls of 10,500. We have SOA Wealth Advisors LLC that purchased 40 shares, and we have Private Advisor Group LLC that purchased 62,900 shares. So it's good to see those new positions. And then when we take a look at the short interest, the off-exchange short volume ratio is at 41.62%, and then for the off-exchange short volume, it is just over 1.08 million shares. Scrolling down on the page, the short shares availability is at 20,000, updated 14 minutes ago, and then for the short volatility rate, it is at 113.59%. And then when we take a look at the history of the short volume, we can see for the close of the 12th, it is at 47.17, and then for the close of the 13th being at 41.62. So overall, it definitely looks like Polestar does have short squeeze potential, especially when we get a lot of buying volume coming in. So we're going to take a look at the chart for LCID. Let's see how it performed on the day. So it ended up closing at $20.11, being up 3.08%. On the low, it tested $18.96, and then on the high, testing $20.15. When we take a look at the volume stats on the day, you can see we traded at 12.848 million shares, and the average volume over 10 trading days is at 15.475 million shares. So you can see that we did have below average volume on the day, but we still saw some strength in the stock. Now, when we take a look at our chart, which is the hourly chart, you can see right away, since we did get that close above $20, this is very key. And the reason behind this is the next area of resistance that we have is around $20.61. But of course, you want to see that break above $20.34. And do you know, as far as for the short-term price target, if it continues to move up, we want to see it get to at least $22.50. But keeping that into consideration, since $20 is a psychological area, this is an area that needs to hold. We did test a low of $18.96, so we want to see a higher low. So if we can hold above that level, or even holding $19, $60, that's definitely a good look for Lucid going into next week. But most preferably, I want to see us make that move to 2061. If we decide to have that pullback instead, like I stated, I want $19 a hold, but if we can actually hold support right here around $19.34, that would be a better look. But again, overall, great to see Lucid did well. So we're going to take a look at the recent institutional ownership and short interest information for Lucid. So scrolling down on the page, green rows indicate new positions, while red rows indicate closed positions. So we see the recent filings we have here for the 14th. We have Cedar Mountain Advisors LLC that purchased 453 shares, and we have Global Retirement Partners LLC that purchased 1,758 shares. And we can see some closed positions here, but if we take a look at the 13th, we have ACG Wealth that purchased 165 shares, and then we have TSFG LLC that purchased 762 shares. So now when we take a look at the short interest, the off exchange short volume ratio is at 58.58%, and then for the off exchange short volume, it's just over 2.6 million shares. Scrolling down on the page, the short shares availability is at 400,000, updated 6 minutes ago, and then for the short bulk fee rate, it is at 15.99%. When we take a look at the history of the short volume, we can see for the close of the 12th, it was at 54.41, and then for the close of the 13th being at 58.58. So it has gone up a bit, and then when we take a look at the short interest percentage of the float being at 23.39%, Lucid does continue to have short squeeze potential. So we're going to take a look at the chart from Mullen. Let's see how it performed on the day. So it ended up closing at $1.05, being down 3.67%. On the low, it tested $1.03, and then on the high, testing $1.09. When we take a look at the volume stats on the day, you can see we traded at 29.884 million shares, and the average volume over 10 trading days is at 60.639 million shares. So we have below average volume on the day, and we also seen a slight pullback in the stock. Now, when we take a look at our chart, which is the hourly chart, I want you guys to pay attention to some key levels here. So far, you can see that $1.04 is an area to keep a very close eye on, also taking a look at $1.03. So if this area continues to hold, that's where I want to see if Mullen can go back to make that test to at least $1.10. It saw a high at $1.09, but if it can make this move to 110 and then we can get that break, that's where we can see it going to around $1.14 and getting up to the 200 EMA. So that's definitely going to be an area that you're going to watch. Let's actually highlight that right now. So if Mullen is bullish, we want to see it get within this range between 110 and as well as 114, and if it breaks out even further, even better. If it decides to actually break through the low of the day at $1.03, like you guys know already, $1, we know that buyers, we want to see them stepping in. And if $1 was going to break, then we know the next support will be kicking in at around 95 cents. But again, I'm just not seeing this personally. I feel that Mullen should be able to hold at least $1, and from what I'm seeing so far, it looks like it might be ready for a run-up going into Friday. Now let's move on. So we're going to take a look at the recent institutional ownership and short interest information for Mullen. So scrolling down on the page, green rows indicate new positions, while red rows indicate closed positions. So when we take a look at the recent filings for the 14th, we have closed positions from Advisor and as well as XR Securities. But we have PFG Advisors with a new position at 14,000 shares. You see a closed position from Koshinki as well, and the others we have already covered. Now, when we take a look at the short interest, the off-exchange short volume ratio is at 43.64%, and then for the off-exchange short volume, it is just over 7.51 million shares. Scrolling down on the page, the short shares availability is at 0, updated 8 minutes ago, and then for the short ball fee rate, it is at 37.66%, so it's getting up there. Then when we take a look at the history of the short volume, we can see for the close of the 12th, it was at 47.65, and then for the 13th, it is at 43.64. So this went down a little bit, and then when we take a look at the short interest percentage of the float being at 13.56%, Mullen does continue to have short squeeze potential. So we're going to take a look at the chart for SoFi. Let's see how it performed on the day. So it ended up closing at $5.91, being down 0.67%. On the low, it tested $5.76, and then on the high, testing $5.97. When we take a look at the volume stats on the day, you can see we traded at 17.147 million shares, and the average volume over 10 trading days is at 23.89 million shares. So we had below average volume on the day, and we also seen a slight pullback in the stock. Now, when we take a look at our chart, which is the hourly chart, let's take a look at some key levels. So we can see as far as from the recent highs where we got to $6.30, we have been on on a downtrend. But what is very interesting though, we are staying around that 200 EMA and we actually just closed above it. It is at $5.90 and currently we're at $5.91 in regards to the close. So going into tomorrow, you want to see SoFi being able to get price action back above $6. The high of the day was at $5.97, so we need a break above that level to get it to move further. Most preferably, you'd want to see how well it would fare if it gets to $6.22. If it could break above this level, that's where we want to see what it could do if it gets up to $6.30. In my personal opinion, I think it's very possible for SoFi to finish above $6 going into Friday. But the moment you'll start seeing weakness in this play, if it decides to break through support right here around $5.67, and you can see this is where we had that run up last week on July the 5th, where it came all the way down to $5.18 and then made that move all the way up to $5.67. So that's why I said that break above $5.67 would not be a good sign whatsoever. So let's see if SoFi can make that move back to $6 going into Friday. So we're going to take a look at the recent institutional ownership and short interest information for SoFi. So scrolling down on the page, green rows indicate new positions while red rows indicate closed positions. So we're going to take a look at the recent filings for the 14th. So we have a closed position from XR Securities, which was a put, and then we see Global Retirement Partners LLC that purchased 413 shares, and then for the 13th we have Allworth Financial LP that purchased 40 shares. We also had calls that were closed from Arcadios, and going down further we have Belmont Capital LLC that purchased 242,350 shares, which is good to see, and we had TSFG LLC that purchased 871 shares. We see a continuation of Private Advisors Group LLC that went in with calls with a value of 1 million shares. Wow, I must say. And then seeing ACG Wealth that purchased 74, and we also have KMG Fiduciary Partners LLC that purchased 11,094 shares, and the others we have already covered. Now, when we take a look at the short interest, the off-exchange short volume ratio is at 47.36%, and then for the off-exchange short volume, it is just over 6.07 million shares. Scrolling down on the page, the short shares availability is at 5.1 million, updated 11 minutes ago, and then for the short ball-free rate, it is at 1.89%. When we take a look at the history of the short volume, we can see for the close of the 12th, it was at 48.32, and then for the close of the 13th, being at 47.36. And then when we take a look at the short interest percentage of the float, it is at 18.01%, so SoFi does continue to have short squeeze potential. So for my final thoughts for each of these stocks, for Polestar, it was great to see that they were able to increase their sales by 125% by being able to deliver 50,000 vehicles. So we are seeing a lot of momentum coming into the play. So going into Friday, I want to see it hold $10. I feel like that is not too much to ask. That's where we want to see strong support. And of course, the next level where you want to see it get to is around $10.60. A break above that level can send it to $11. I'm not saying it's going to go to 11 on Friday, but as far as for the setup going into next week, it does look really good. And then when we go over Lucid now, we know that $20 is a psychological area for the play. So the fact that it was able to close just above $20 is a very good sign. So the next level that you want to look for is for Lucid to get to at least $20.60 and then seeing what it could do from there. As far as for the short-term price target, as the market continues to move up, I want to see it get to at least $22.50. And as far as for Mullen, we know that it's hanging out at a very key level that we have spoken about. So this is between $1.03 and as well as $1.04. If it's able to form a higher low, maybe around 104 or 105, we want to see a move going to $1.10. It saw a high of the day at $1.09, so it needs a break above this level, and then the next area you want to look for is around $1.14, and then see if it can move up further from there. Again, we need to have that buying volume coming into the play. And then as far as for SoFi, so the news has come out in regards to the reverse stock split. So that has been approved. Are they going to go ahead and do it? Hey, that's something we're going to have to wait on. But as far as the price action is concerned, it needs to get back above $6 and then gain some momentum. We see it get to the $6.30 range, and that's where we see there's some selling pressure. So if it's able to break above that, maybe it can get closer to 7. But one thing that is clear, and especially for most of these stocks that we are talking about right now,
they are on uptrends due to the fact that the market has been picking up. We had the CPI data that came out, we had a brief pullback, and then the market began to run. So one of the things you want to remember, a lot of this fear looks like it's being priced in. So the only thing that can really pull this market back, in my opinion, is earnings season. So companies, especially big tech, coming out with weak earnings, and of course the Fed meeting that's going to be coming up to address the high CPI that we had. Aside from that, that's why I say you want to have a strategy and continue to follow the trend if you want to see success in these markets. And if you're looking to take your option game to the next level, make sure you download the free cheat sheet that I created, the 5 strategies to trade options like a pro. You could also join us inside of the private Discord as well. We continue to crush it during this bear market, and we'll be happy to have you a part of the family. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll be talking to you guys real soon.